Hello and welcome to yet another Boyish Rant. Seems like Scottish are going to get another independence vote soon, seeing as they voted overwhelmingly for Remain, and it seems like Prime Minister Johnson seems set on taking us out with no deal. Now, as someone with a deep love of Scotland and a deep disdain of England, I've decided to gather my reasons for and against Scottish independence, because fuck it, the mainstream media is biased, at least I'm honest about mine. I'm authentic. Now for a brief, drastically oversimplified history lesson. First you have the English, or Anglo-Saxons, made up of migrants from southern Britain, southern Denmark, northern Germany, all pissing about in England once the Romans had fucked off in the 5th century. Fast forward 400 years and you have the amalgamation of two Celtic-speaking peoples, the Gaels and the Picts, who in the 9th century founded the Kingdom of Scotland, or Alba as it was known at the time. Do you want to know what happened for the next 800 years between Scottish and the English? War, burn your village, rape and pillage, war, kill your king, war, kill your king, war. The Scottish and the English were basically dicks to each other for 800 years solid. Until in 1707, the Union of Great Britain was formed and it became law that only the English could be dicks to the Scots. One small example of this is less than 4 decades after Great Britain was formed, England banned the wearing of a kilt. Yeah. But for now, let's get into the reasons for independence. I have a lovely new desk. Reason number 1, they get to rule themselves. Now, this was a fundamental issue in the last independence referendum. Not nationalism or the economy, but democracy. If you have a look at the last few governments who have been in power, or even those who haven't, none of their views represent the majority in Scotland. You got Boris Johnson? Nope. Theresa May? Nope. David Cameron? Definitely not. Jeremy Corbyn? Nope. Gordon Brown? Now, with independence, Scotland would always get the government that they voted for. Now, even after tirelessly campaigning, they only got the right to hold their own parliament in 1999. But it is worth noting that they opened their opening assembly with the Scottish Parliament adjourned on the 25th of March 1707 is hereby reconvened, which is not only a killer burn, it's also a long-ass callback and a stark reminder that the Scots don't forgive shit. Reason number 2, Scotland wants to get rid of Trident. Now, the Scottish National Party is being led by Nicola Sturgeon, who's made an illegal commitment to rid nuclear weapons from Scottish soil should independence be voted for, which I would consider a noble move if I didn't currently live in the country she's trying to pwn the nukes off onto, you know. Reason number 3, independent Scotland would mean that they'd have control of their own armed forces. It's safe to assume that they'd spend way less on defence, maybe focus more on their maritime abilities, and a military only culminating in 20,000 troops. Also, we won't be able to drag them into any more illegal wars. Iraq! Reason number 4, money. Statistics show that an independent Scotland could be one of the wealthiest countries in the world when it comes to spending per head. Taking into account their offshore drilling and mainland gas refineries. In 2014, 68% of Scots voted to keep the revenue from North Sea oil in Scotland, a fact which, when David Cameron was posed this question in government, he laughed, and other Tories behind him laughed, and he said, "You ask a silly question, you get a silly answer." That probably didn't help tensions, as David Cameron represents everything about England that Scotland hate. I mean, David Cameron represents everything I hate about England. Up until now, tax revenue from the North Sea oil reserve has gone to the Treasury and has been spread around Britain, in their words, fairly and generally. Now, 2 things. Generally is an adverb, meaning you have to place it before a verb. So fairly and generally would become generally fair. 2. North Sea oil revenue 5 years ago was 4.5 billion a year. Last year, 1.2 billion a year. So, they are running out of oil. But Nicola Sturgeon promised to abolish the spare room tax in Scotland, so, there's going to be an abundance of grow rooms popping up. They'll find the money. Now let's look at the reasons for Scotland staying within the United Kingdom. Reason number 1, union. It has been a fairly successful union over the last 300 years. With this alliance, we've built an empire, fought in 2 world wars, and so much more. Experts say that an integrated UK economy means risks and opportunities are pooled within a home market, whereas an independent Scotland could mean proposed developments are on hold as investors get fear of higher costs, maybe a flight of capital. This would mean Scotland would face higher interest rates if they borrowed. That's going to deter would-be investors. Dark, huh? Reason number 2. Insulin, electromagnetism, Higgs boson, general anaesthetic, X-ray cinematography, a tractor beam, saline drips. It's fair to say that the Scottish are truly pioneers when it comes to medical and scientific research. But an independent Scotland wouldn't benefit from any of the money from UK research funding, meaning these wonderful discoveries would become few and far between. I mean, the Scottish might have to just go back to relying on luck. Shit, we only got penicillin because Alexander Fleming forgot to fucking clean. Also, side note, the hypodermic needle was also invented by a Scot. Reason number 3. Money! Nobody has a clue what the currency would be in an independent Scotland. Now, the popular vote is to adopt the euro, but it seems like we're all in this shopping cart called Brexit that's going off a cliff, so that's unlikely. But whether it ends up being the euro or the Scottish note of the British pound, the result's going to be much the same. They still won't take mid taxis. Reason number 4, Scotland would have less influence in the world. Now, Scotland only has 5.5 million citizens, which isn't bad considering the life expectancy for men is 77 and for women it's 81. The United Kingdom holds a permanent place on the UN Security Council and was one of the largest members of the European Union. Now, nobody's even certain if independent Scotland would even be accepted into NATO. Let's not forget here that one drunk Scot in a bar can ruin a bar. So there you go. There's my reasons for and against Scottish independence. You know, who knows if they're going to get another shot at it? Who knows what the fuck's going to happen in the next few days leading up to Brexit on Halloween? Who knows what Britain will look like this time next year? But what we do know is that nearly 6,000 people a year get hurt or die in the UK after tripping up their trousers or falling down the stairs after pulling them up.